versus government already, and a lot of people here are, of course, necessarily wrong about the executive branch. But one of my big concerns, and the Republican playbook since about 2010, has been dismantling the fundamental tools of government. The most recent attack, and what we're seeing with the House right now, is these one-paragraph bills that keep rolling back regulations with complete disregard for Chevron deference and the executive branch, so that even if Democrats get the executive branch back in 2020, we're not going to have any tools to use administrative agencies to move forward with the rest of the agenda. What is the legislature, what are you guys doing, and what can we do to protect Chevron deference, apart from just straight up, opposed worship or anyone who may think is opposed to Chevron deference? What are we doing to protect the power of these agencies to do their job?
Yeah, this is a really, really important point. Thank you for raising it. I spent last week fighting several of these issues in committee. And just so people understand, what he's referring to is if the President Obama issued a regulation, the department did, there is a statute that allows Congress to repeal that regulation. The most dangerous part of the repeal is not only does it repeal the regulation, but it prohibits the agency from issuing a rule on that same subject forever. And the interpretation about whether it's on that same subject or not is left to Congress, and it's not reviewable. So these repeals, and I'll give you one example. One of the ones that I was involved in last week was the Obama administration issued a rule that said if you are identified as seriously mentally ill and having prolonged mental illness and you are incapable of taking care of your daily responsibilities, and as a consequence you are disabled and receiving disability, that they can notify the NICS system to prevent this severely mentally ill person from buying a gun. So the Republicans repealed that regulation, and we fought it, I fought it in committee and on the floor. The problem is that not only does, that again is in the House, I don't know what will happen to it in the Senate, but the danger is not only that you repeal that rule, but they will be able to argue that you can forever not issue a rule that relates to the NICS system, because they'll say that was repealed. And the fight about whether or not it's a similar rule or not, again, is decided by Congress. So this is a very dangerous practice. There was another rule they repealed that was intended to protect people from methane gas leaks. And I said to one of our Republican colleagues, this is about protecting your constituents from having information that there's been a methane gas leak, and you're repealing a rule to do that is disgraceful. But this is really, really important. Thank you for raising it. We should be fighting these, I am, but everyone should be aware of it, because these have really long-term consequences, and they have figured out that by trying to dismantle rule after rule after rule, they will achieve not only a short-term objective, but they might likely prevent the agency from ever delving into this area again, and it is very, very devastating when you think about some of the issues we're talking about. So just fighting it every day and making sure people know about it.
The good news, bad news on that is that the bad news is that this is a privileged act in that it goes through with 51 votes in the Senate. We can't stop it with 60. That's the bad news. The good news is that there's an expiry date and they're trying to jam them through. So a lot are immune from this because there's a window of time in which you're able to bring the CRA action, and once that time has run out, they're done, and then we can stop it on the Senate side by demanding 60 votes, which they won't get. But what they've done, what they've pushed through in the Senate, is protecting coal companies from having to clean up streams after they've ruined them by pushing mountaintops into them, and protecting Exxon and other big extractors from having to report their bribes to foreign officials to the Securities and Exchange Commission. So it's freedom to ruin streams and freedom to bribe for the fossil fuel industry. If you ask if that's the real agenda of the American people, I've got to say, I don't think so.
I don't think so.